वेलकम टू सावित्रीबाई फुले शिक्षण प्रसारक मंडळ, रेणुका ज्युनियर कॉलेज. Myself Utikar RA. I am the staff of Biology Standard 12th. Today we are going to start the lecture number 2 in the topic reproduction. In this section we are going to take a look at topic number 1, reproduction in lower organism. In last lecture we studied about the asexual mode of reproduction. In today's lecture we are going to see the another part of this, that is the sexual mode of reproduction. So let's see, what do you mean by sexual reproduction? It involves fusion of two compatible gametes or sex cells. Now see why they say there are two compatible gametes, because opposite sexes are going to be fused with each other for the formation of a new organism. It involves fusion of two compatible gametes, that is male and female parents or sex cells. All organisms reach to the maturity in their life before they can reproduce sexually. Means what? Children are going to convert into adult. That stage of a life is said to be a puberty. So all organisms reach to the maturity of their life means they turn to the puberty or adolescent. In plants, the end of juvenile or vegetative phase marks the beginning of reproductive phase and can be seen easily in the higher plants at the time of flowering. About the puberty or about the adolescence, it is in animal phases or in animals. What about the plants? Plants do the adolescence or puberty. There are different words for this, but whenever they concern about the reproduction process, whenever flowering will be there, then the reproduction process is going to be start in the plants. The flower is a specialized reproductive structure of plant in which sexual reproduction takes place. So flower ची ही definition आहे. The flower is a specialized reproductive structure of a plant in which sexual reproduction takes place. The function of flower is to produce haploid gametes and to ensure that fertilization will take place. What is the function of flower? It is responsible for the production of haploid gametes. बघा, haploid gametes means male gamete and female gamete, but they are haploid one because these are the sex cells. Only one set of chromosome is present in them. One N will be there, not 2N. Therefore, they said this as a haploid gametes to ensure that fertilization will take place. Typical flower consists of 4 different whorls. Whorls means types, that is calyx, corolla, androsium and gynoecium. Whatever flower we have, that flower is dividing into 4 different parts: calyx, corolla, androsium and gynoecium. Calyx is, you can say, a petiole like structure. जे आपल्या फ्लॉवरचा छोटा दांडा असतो खालचा, त्याला आपण कॅलिक्स म्हणणार आहोत. फुलाच्या ज्या पाकळ्या असतात त्याला आपण कोरोला म्हणतो. द पेटिओल पार्ट और यू कॅन से पेटल पोर्शन इज सेड टू बी कोरोला. Whatever male reproductive portion is there, it is said to be androsium, and female reproductive portion is said to be a gynoecium. Come towards the next slide. Sexual reproduction involves 2 major events, that is meiosis and fusion of gametes to form diploid zygote and the production of genetically dissimilar offsprings. आता सेक्शुअल रिप्रोडक्शन हा पोर्शन आहे. whenever sexual reproduction process will be there, then there is a definitely variation process. We are not exactly similar to our parents. We are somehow different from our parents. Means what? There is a variation in case of sexual mode of reproduction. So sexual reproduction has 2 major events: meiosis process, because these are the haploid cells, and fusion of a gametes to form a diploid zygote. What do you mean by diploid zygote? One N came from the mother and other N came from the father. So N and N becomes 2N. Therefore they are said to be a diploid zygote. Okay. Variations are useful from the point of view of the survival and the evolution of species over the time. Now whenever variation will be there, then there is a evolution. We came from the monkeys. Monkeys have a tail, but does we have a tail? No, because we have a variation due to having evolution. Sexual reproduction is characterized by fusion of the male and female gametes, that is fertilization, the formation of zygote and embryogenesis. What do you mean by embryogenesis? The development of embryo is said to be embryogenesis. Sequential events that occurs in sexual reproduction are grouped into three distinct stages, that is pre-fertilization, fertilization and post-fertilization. Now see, sexual reproduction is the very biggest process, and that biggest process is divided into three basic stages. Pre-fertilization means before fertilization process, fertilization means actual fertilization process, and post-fertilization means what things are going to be happen after fertilization. They are said to be the post-fertilization. Come towards next slide. The male reproductive whole of a flower is called as an androsium. Now we are going to study the reproduction process in lower organism, that is about the plant. Plants have a flowers. So whatever reproduction is carried out inside the flower, that we are going to concern today. So the male reproductive whole of a flower is called as an androsium. Individual member of androsium is called stamen. Stamen consists of filament, connective and anther. Now these are the three parts of the stamen. That stamen is present on our flower. Have you seen the hibiscus flower? जास्वंदाचं फूल जर तुम्ही पाहिलं असेल तर जास्वंदाच्या फुलाला परागकण असतात वरती पिवळ्या रंगाचे. ती एक आउटग्रोथ असते, पाकळ्या खाली आहेत आणि एक दांडा आहे वरती आणि त्याच्यावरती वेगवेगळे पिवळ्या पिवळ्या रंगाचे छोटे छोटे कण आहेत. हे एक कण जर आपण घेतला असेल तर त्याला आपल्याला अँड्रोशियम म्हणता येईल आणि ह्या अँड्रोशियममध्ये आपले पोलन ग्रेन्स प्रेझेंट असतात. कम टुवर्ड्स द नेक्स्ट स्लाइड. Today we are going to concern about the structure of anther, or basically how the pollen grain is situated inside our flower. An immature stage of anther is represented by a group of parenchymatous tissue surrounded by single layer epidermis. Epidermis is a layer, okay, and whatever tissue is present inside it, it is said to be parenchymatous tissue. Anther is generally diathecous, means having two lobes. So underline this word whenever you are going to answer this question, then diathecous word have to be there in your answer sheet. So anther is generally diathecous having two lobes and tetrasporangiated, म्हणजे काय 4 spores त्याच्यामध्ये प्रेझेंट असणार आहेत. 1 2 3 4 these are the 4 spores present in it. Okay, each monothecous anther contains 2 pollen sacs. See this diagram. This diagram have a 4 lobes. Basically there are 3 layers: epidermis, middle layer and endothecium. Outer layer is said to be endothecium layer. Middle layer, which is having a fat like structure, it is said to be middle layer, and whatever things present inside it, it is said to be the epidermis. Okay, so a tapatum is one type of pollen grain, or you can say the covering of the pollen grain is said to be the tapatum. On that tapatum there is a sporangius tissue. The sporangius tissue is responsible for shock absorbance. Whatever harsh conditions are there, in that harsh condition our pollen grain have to be protected. Therefore sporangius tissue is necessary. See, each monothecous anther contains 2 pollen sacs. The diathecous anther 4 pollen sacs are present. Therefore it is a tetrasporangiated. बघा किती शब्द आलेले आहेत ह्याच्यामध्ये. बेसिकली आंथर हा आपला डायथिकस असणार आहे. याच्यामध्ये 2 लोब्स असतात. टेट्रास्पोरॅन्जिएटेड म्हणजे ह्याच्यात 4 स्पोर्स तयार होणार आहेत. एका स्पोरपासून आपला एक पोलन ग्रेन तयार होतो. ह्याच्यामध्ये 2 पोलन सॅक असतात. These are very important words for you. The heterogeneity, that is differentiation, arises when some hypodermal cell gets transferred into archesporial cell. Now what do you mean by archesporial cell? Hypodermal condition means what, and archesporial cells means what? Come towards the diagram. See the second diagram, that is discrete anther. Whatever pollen grains are mature one, that pollen grains when they get matured, they get released from the anther, and whenever there is a releasing process, whatever the two layers or three layers present on the anther, that get ruptured out, and when they get ruptured out, the pollen grains are come away from it. This process is said to be Archesporial cell. Section B or B diagram is very very important for the Archesporial cells. See the diagram. Diagram have a connective tissue inside it. I am saying about the diagram A. Outer layer is said to be epidermis, middle layer is said to be endothecium, and third layer is said to be the middle layer. The pollen grains have a layers known as a tapatum, and that tapatum gets protected by the sporangius tissue. Come towards the B diagram. When pollen grain get a matured one, then the three layers get ruptured out and pollen grains are come away for the reproduction process. Thank you. Our next lecture will be on the microsporogenesis. Thank you.